Well, good morning. Now Asha Javed from Ruhr University in Bochum is telling us something about XSS filter.
Hi, good morning and welcome to the presentation. This is basically a tale of an unbreakable context-aware XSS filter. The reason I am using the term unbreakable, I had three things in my mind. One is to piss off other researchers. Second, instigate them so that they can give their best. And third one is to motivate people to participate and try to break it. And but the main goal that I have in my mind when I was developing this filter is to make the bar high for the attacker. And you will see in the end you will decide, and I think I succeeded in doing that. So, but before I will present this filter, let's look at the logs of XSS attack attempts that I had received. Basically, this was the challenge that announced some months ago. The challenge is still online, but officially it is there for 2 weeks. I announced the challenge on Twitter and other hackers platform, and I asked people to break it, to found alert one on this testbed. If they were able to do alert one, I'm happy to give them $1,000 US. So it's a $1,000 US challenge. During 2 weeks, I had recorded 78,000 XSS attack attempts from 1,100 IP addresses, unique IP addresses. They don't know, people don't know that I am logging everything. So now I show you the logs. What is the current situation right now? So these are the logs. Logs are maintained date-wise. I am recording the date, time, the IP address, and the vector also. So basically, this is the biggest collection of XSS vectors in an organized form. Let's look how many attempts right now we have. So just look at this counter. Just keep an eye on this counter. Yes, right now we have 82,446 XSS attack attempts in order to break this filter. And I will share the results what we have now. So this is, I learned a lot. I have all the secrets of all the researchers around. So I'm recording everything. So let's start. So we have an XSS attempts of 82,446. My reaction, because I realized there is a one bypass. One bypass has been reported after the challenge has been closed. This was my reaction, literally, because I expect that there would be no bypass, but nowadays nothing is unbreakable. But this was my reaction when I realized that the bypass only works on old IE8 browser, and it affects only 1 out of 5 supported context. So lesson learned during this, during the development and during the challenge of this filter, that nothing is unbreakable as long we have to live with old browsers. So old browsers are crazy. In the end, you will decide. My goal is to make the bar high for the attacker, and after 82,000 attempts, there is only one bypass that also works under some ifs. I will show you. First, who I am. I'm a PhD student who is working towards his PhD in cross-site scripting. Wish me good luck. So I'm a researcher also in Ruhr University Bochum. My name has been listed in all top sites Hall of Fame. It includes 11 time in Google Security Hall of Fame. Recently, I had a chance to speak at Black Hat. Previously, last year, I also spoke here at DeepSec, and I tweet on this handle. So slides will be available after the talk on this URL. So cross-site scripting. So how many developers are here? Would you please raise hand? How many developers? They work full time as developers. Okay. And how many pen testers are here? They pen test. Okay, good. So XSS is everywhere. And I'm not going to the detail of cross-site scripting. I assume that you know what is XSS. It's a script injection problem where attackers apply the script execute in the context of your application, and it can do anything. It can do anything what attacker wants. So I always say this, XSS is everywhere and it's not going anywhere. So I show you some of my recent findings. This is $3,000 XSS in Google Scholar I found just 1.5 months ago. It is fixed now. This is $1,000 finding from Magento Commerce. I participated in their bug bounty program and I accessed their forum. This is $800 XSS in Yahoo Travel. So I got these rewards. This is $500 in Magento Commerce. This is $50 XSS in Simply Build. I have XSS that lies in each category. So I can do this all day. But so I decided to make a Wordle. This is a Wordle of an XSS. So just spend 10 seconds on this website and look at the names. These are all popular sites that are vulnerable to cross-site scripting, and these are my recent findings. So some of them have been fixed, some are not there. I reported them, so developers are working on the fix. BBC News, CNN, Alexa, Cracked, eBay, Amazon, everyone is here. So they all are vulnerable to XSS. Whoever said, if someone will say you that XSS party is going to be over soon, I think he does not live on web. XSS is not going anywhere. How I developed this filter. Now because normally at a conference, at a non-academic and hackers conferences, everything is going to break. This is what the intention of all hackers conferences. But I will try to present something that at least raise the bar for the attacker. So the question is how I developed this filter. By looking at the context-specific attack methodology that I had developed during the development of this filter. First, what is context? Context is basically an environment where users supply input or input from other application eventually ends up or starts living. So let's see what are the common contexts in a web application. This diagram summarizes everything in a clear manner. For example, you are sitting on an example.com, you search for an XSS, the request goes to the server, and once the reply gets back from the server, normally it appears in different contexts. For example, here you see you input XSS, it reflects back as a content of a span tag. This is called an HTML context because around XSS there are HTML tags. Here you see XSS appears as a part of value attribute. It's called an attribute context. Here you see XSS appear as a part of a script block. This is called a script context. In a similar manner, if your query appears as a part of href, href is basically for URL. It's called URL context. And last, we have a style context also. These are the popular context web applications have. If you query anything on a web page and just start looking at the source code of the page, you will find these contexts. These are the common ones. So now I show you a quick examples from real sites. For example, this is a query that I made on EA. EA is a popular sports site. If I type double quotes XYZ and start looking at the source code, I found that XYZ ends up inside as a body of title tag. It's called an HTML context. If I query XYZ on India Times, it's another popular website. It ends up as a value of an H1 tag, inside H1 tag. This is an HTML context. So in a similar manner, we have an attribute context. So you query junk, you write junk. It appears as a value of title attribute. This is not a tag. Title is an attribute of an anchor tag. So we call it an attribute context. So in a similar manner, we have a script block, for example. If I query on health.com just junk XSS, so it will appear as a value of this variable. But see, here we have a script tag start, here we have a script tag close. This is called a script context. So in a similar manner, we have a URL context. Often sites ask you to input your personal data, for example, fill out a form, and they will ask you to give a URL of your home page. it means that whatever you are typing in that particular field, it will end up as a part of an href attribute, and it's called a URL context. Or all CMSs or on all forums or support systems, you will see WYSIWYG editors. What you see is what you get, rich text editors. They allow you to input a link also. It means that behind the scene, it's called an URL context. In a similar manner, we have a style context also. For example, this is the box taken from eBay. On eBay, in their, I think, in their user develop or purchase guide, at one time they will ask you to set a style. It means whatever you will input here will end up as a part of style. So these are the common contexts we have. So let's start attacking these contexts. If we have this context, how to break these contexts, how to attack them. This is a systematic methodology of attacking a script context. Just forgot 4 other contexts. Just keep in mind only script context. So we have that type of situation. We are inside a script block. There is a variable called a, for example, and this is an injection point. But see, this is a double-quoted case and this is a single-quoted case. Because according to HTML5 specification, single and double quotes both are allowed. So when I am developing a methodology, I am not sure that devs are using single quote or double quotes. So I have to take care of the both. So now how to attack them? If you have that type of situation and you want to attack them, please follow these 3 steps. First step starts with double quotes, semicolon. Confirm one is just a proof of concept alert box. But of course, in real life attack scenario, attacker will not confirm one. It will exfiltrate information on his domain. But the structure would be like that. It has to start with double quotes first, the first attack vector. But the first attack vector is for the first case, where devs are using double quotes. The second is a single quoted case. But for example, you are pen testing a web application and you know that devs are using only single quote, then no need to apply first step. Only start from applying the second step. And the last one in JavaScript is amazing. You can, in a string, you can prematurely close a script block by starting the vector with a closed script block and then do whatever you want to do. So along with every step, these are the browser logos are given. So the methodology is general. It works across all browsers. So now we realize that if we want to attack particular script context, I had already discussed what are script context. So you should follow these charts. Please hang these charts on your wall. You can break everything. So the question arises, obvious question that came to your mind. It looks very simple. Why no encoding in the attack methodology? I cannot see crazy encoding in the methodology. It's very simple. It started with double quote, semicolon. Why? This is the reason. Encoding does not help an attacker to break the context. If your input or if your query lands inside double quotes, you cannot jump out from the double quotes unless you start with the double quote. So encoding does not help you to break the context. In order to break the context, attacker needs either hard-coded double quotes, single quote, or closing a script block. So let's see a demo. So we have the same situation. We have a script variable, A. We have an injection point. Here you see, the first one, I borrow the second step of my attack methodology, start with single quotes. And if I run this fiddle, I will get confirm box only one time, even though there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There should be 6, but why 1? Because, as I told you, encoding will not help you to break the context. See, here in that case, I hex encoded single quote to jump out from the single quote, but it is not executing. In the next case, I am encoding single quote in decimal form. It is not working because encoding does not help you to break the context. But the next question arises, okay, fair enough. But does it mean encoding does not work? No, it works. Encoding works, but it will not help you to break out the context. So I show you how encoding works. So see, again we have a same situation. What is this? This is JavaScript. A tool is available, it's called jsfuck.com. You can encode your JavaScript in non-alphanumeric forms using that tool. So in the next vector, here I am using Unicode encoding, hex, simple. Here you can see decimal. Here you can see the combination of different encodings. So it means encoding works, but closely look at every vector. Everything starts with a plain hard-coded double quote or plain hard-coded single quote. It means in order to jump out from the context, you need hard-coded stuff, not the encoded stuff. Encoded will work if attacker will able to break it. But imagine if you stop attacker in breaking the context, you are done with it. So this is what I am doing basically. This is the implementation of script context cleaner. How simple it is. So remember the methodology. We have bad chars, we have safe chars, and simply in the output we are replacing it. Now let's look at the bad chars. So the first bad char is double quotes. The second one is less than or where the tag starts. And the third one is single quote. Now let's back to the methodology. So if you look at these three charts, what are the first character from every step? The first character from the first step is double quote. The first character from the second step is single quote. The first character from the third step is less than. So we can clearly see if we stop these three characters, no one can break the script context. So, okay, here we have the three characters, but now you had a question. Why I am considering backslash as bad char? Why? The idea is to design a filter for every use case. For example, if you have a very simple use case, go for these characters. These three characters are enough. But why I am filtering backslash? So I show you a demo. So suppose, because we are designing a solution that should fly, that people will use. They may have different use cases. For example, if you will closely look at this script block, there are two injection points. There are two variables, variable A and variable B. Here you see as a part of variable A, I input 4 backslash, and as a part of variable B, I input semicolon confirm 1. And if I execute this, it works. Can somebody identify why it works? Just a question, just spend a minute on it. Can you identify why it is working? Yes?
The double quote was escape.
Absolutely right, yes. So the reason I am filtering backslash, because I don't know, maybe in your web application, you have two injection points in a script block. Then what attacker can do? Attacker will input foo backslash, done, in the first injection point. Internally, this backslash, because we are using double quoted case, this backslash will properly escape that quote after backslash, and then keep going until he found a normal hard-coded double quotes. If I will ask you, let me know the value of A. Anybody can tell me what is the value of A? If I will print A, what will be the value? The value will be, yes, let me know, foo, double quotes, yeah, semicolon, var, B is equal to, exactly. This would be the value of variable A. That's why for JavaScript, this first variable properly ends at this semicolon, and then there is a proof of concept JavaScript. Now I show you a demo, because in my filter I am controlling backtick. For example, we have a case. We have 2 injection points. You already seen this, that this works. Okay, let's input the same vector here. Foo backslash. Here starts with semicolon confirm 1, semicolon comments, and let's submit it. Here you see, it does not work, because in my filter, I consider backslash, I am controlling backslash and convert backslash into a proper encoding form, so that it will not work. So for having a filter for a script context, we need backslash also. So in a similar manner, this was the methodology for a script context. But initially I told you there are 5 contexts. This is the methodology for an attribute context. Again, it's a 3-step process. We have that type of case where input lands as a part of an attribute. It starts with double quotes on mouse over. It can be any event handler. You can do whatever but the structure should be like that. Double quotes, then single quotes, and then backtick. This last case is basically for old IE browsers. Now, by looking at this chart, if I will ask you, give me 3 characters in order to design a filter for an attribute context, what will be these 3 characters? So anybody would like to tell me what would be these 3 characters? They will be simple double quotes, simply single quote, and simply backtick. So let's see. But before I will show you the implementation, you are again thinking, there is no encoding in it. Of course, encoding will not help you. I show you an example here. See, this is an attribute case. Here we have an hard-coded double quotes. Here I made the hex decimal encoding form of double quotes. Here hex encoding form. Here URL encoding form. Here HTML5 encoded form. Here Unicode encoded form. But if I will run this fiddle, and if I will bring the mouse, only this div layer will work. So I can show you. For example, if I will bring the mouse here, this will not work. This will not work. This will not work. The only layer that will work is the hard-coded div, hard-coded double quotes. So now we know, in order to design a filter for an attribute context, we only have to control 3 characters by looking at these charts. So this is the implementation. It's that simple. You have only 3 bad chars: double quotes, single quotes, and backtick. But here, this is where the bypass comes. There is a researcher, Gareth Hayes. He found a bypass for an attribute context. He found that in old IE browser, along with double backtick, there is another variation. It's like that. Make a backslash in between 2 backticks. And IE8 browsers also consider it a valid separator, and they break out the context. So this was the bypass, but the question, how one can exploit it? For old IE browser, in order to exploit that cases, the assumption is that devs are using inner HTML assignment somewhere after that. So it works under if. If attacker is able to break the context with the help of this one, and you are not doing any inner HTML assignment, nothing bad will happen. But if you are doing an inner HTML assignment, then bad thing may happen. So this was the bypass that only affects IE8 browser. The simple fix. Because in my old implementation, I was looking at 2 backtick. The fix is simply start looking at single backtick, and it's done. One good option, I really like this option, GitHub. If you will go to GitHub and if you will open GitHub on IE8 browser, they will show you this message. Please note that GitHub no longer supports Internet Explorer 7 or 8. Please do that if you are a developer. So these are the old browser, and especially the compatibility view. No need to support, they should have gone now. So in a similar manner, we have an attack methodology for style context. It's a 4-step process. It's not a 3-step, it's a 4-step process. It starts because Internet Explorer supports dynamic CSS expressions. With the help of these expressions, you can execute JavaScript. The first step is simply width :expression alert 1. But look at the next step. In the next step, I am using multi-line comments inside the word expression. Why? Because I had seen in the wild, developers are blacklisting the word expression. They made us their own sanitization routine. They blacklisted expression is not allowed in the input. But if you will use a multi-line comment inside the word expression, old IE browser simply ignores it. At the same time, you can bypass what developers are doing. The next step, the third step. In the third step, I am using hex encoding form of colon and a small parenthesis. Because I had seen in the wild, devs are also looking in a style context, a small bracket, small parenthesis. But see, in the third step, there is no parenthesis. It's hex encoded form. It will bypass their solution. And in the last step, it's basically CSS escaping. So it's a 4-step process. Just if you are designing any solution, please test your solution if you are outputting in a style block against these charts. They are so helpful because the filter that I designed and the logs that we had seen early, 82,000 attempts and only 1 bypass, which only affects old IE browser. And if there is an error HTML assignment, then exploitation is possible. So by looking at these charts, I was able to design a filter that is very, very hard to break. And community testing also proves that. So please follow these charts. Next. So this is the implementation of style context cleaner. Yeah, but before showing this implementation, I would like to ask you a question. So now give me 3 characters by looking at these charts, and one of the characters should not be colon. Colon is not allowed. Because if you will control colon or if you will filter colon, then you are not allowing any style. Because in CSS, the standard is the property name, colon, value. I don't want to control colon. Looking at these charts, please let me know 3 characters. What 3 characters you will choose? Anybody would like to tell me? Any idea? So, okay, just look at the charts. If I will filter small parentheses, if I will control and if I will control backslash. So these are the 3 that I can clearly see. So here you see we have a double quotes, we have single quotes. But why double quotes and single quotes are there? Style. Style is allowed in 2 forms. One, attribute. You can use a style attribute. And if you are using a style attribute, I am not sure. Either you are using double quote or either you are using single quote. So that's why double quotes and single quotes are there. In a similar manner, we have a small parenthesis, backslash, less than if devs are using style tag. So these are the only characters. If you will control, no one can execute JavaScript in the style context. What about CSS import? So let's see a demo if we have time. Yeah. So these are the variation of CSS import that also works in modern browsers. The idea of CSS import is that maybe if attacker is able to inject something, he can point to a malicious CSS file. So these are the variations that work in modern browsers. You can choose any variation. I listed down all the variations. But if you will closely look at all variations either needs a small parenthesis or single quote or double quote. So these are the 3 characters that are important. Because I am already controlling these characters, so CSS import injection will not work. CSS import without double quote, single quote, or small parenthesis does not work. But just for the confirmation, I asked this question from a spec hacker. His name is Tab, and he also confirmed my thinking, what I am thinking. That is correct, it should not work. But I cannot guarantee about old Opera browser. Old Opera is gone. Now Opera is using WebKit as a rendering engine. If you are still using an old Opera from 5 months ago, because they switched, I cannot guarantee about that. The good thing about this style context cleaner, you can write simple style. So see, background color, text alignment, text shadow, these are all simple styles, harmless styles. They all are allowed. I am not controlling colon. I am not controlling semicolon. So that's why all simple styling are allowed. And I am only controlling those characters that are dangerous, that attacker can use for JavaScript execution. In a similar manner, we have a methodology for URL context. Because the time is short, you can take this chart and use it. This is the implementation. It's very simple. Always keep in mind, if you're asking user to input URL, make sure it should start with an HTTP or HTTPS. Otherwise, you are gone. Otherwise, XSS is possible. So the regular expression I am using here, it forces you to input a URL that starts with HTTP or HTTPS or FTP. JavaScript, data URI, VB script URI, they are not allowed. So feature, you can enter any URL, it works simply. Because the question, in the regular expression, if you will closely look at this diagram, here, I am controlling double quotes and single quotes. Why? This is the reason. So, because attacker goal is to find an XSS. What he can do, he can simply input a normal URL, and after JPG there is a question mark. Question mark is after question mark you can query parameter anything, and all the browsers for all the browser it's valid. But after question mark C, double quotes on mouse over. What attacker can do, and this trick is really helpful. I XSS Amazon using this trick. At one point, they are asking me to give a URL that should start with an HTTP. Okay, I did it. But after the URL, where the URL ends, I write double quotes. And devs are using double quotes as a part of href attribute. So double quotes will break the context, and then on mouse over works. So in a similar manner, last, we have an implementation of HTML context cleaner. Remember what is HTML context? So just control these two characters, less than and greater than. You are done. No one can access you in an HTML context. The complete code of the filter is available on this URL. It has already been adopted by 2 CMSs, one popular open source in browser editor. The new code is available here. The old implementation where I am using double backtick, because the fix is to convert double backtick into single backtick, is available here. And devs will update this with the new release of CMS, so they are waiting for it. So please use this. GIST is available here. The limitation, the final one. My filter is not a complete solution. It has a limitation. Obvious, every solution has a limitation. If you have that cases where you are using no quotes at all, no single quote, no double quote, ahref injection point. See, there is no quoting here. Div style, no quoting here. My filter will not work. But what I had seen in the wild, and what is a good practice, I recommend you, please use quotes. Please use either single or either double. Please use it. And then use my solution. It will help you. It will definitely raise the bar for the attacker. So this is the limitation. And from my side, it's done. Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you. I was just wondering how does your library or your work compares with other similar work that there is, because there are Microsoft libraries for doing exactly the same. There is OWASP libraries also for sanitizing. That's all. You didn't compare it.
I'm not saying that don't use it, use it. The point I wanted to make, they are escaping or they are encoding so many characters. They are encoding for the sake of encoding. Their design decisions are not transparent. In my solution, every design decision is transparent. I developed the filter by looking at the methodology. Imagine if in CSS you escape colon. What does it mean? You are not allowing any style. If you will start counting the characters that I am controlling and start looking at the character that OAP's Java encoder is encoding, I give you one example. In style context, I am looking only 5 characters. OAP's Java encoder is looking at 44 characters. Why? Job can be done with 5 characters. So this is the another reason. So the idea is to make a solution with a small number of possible characters, and this is what I achieved here. One can make a solution by not allowing any non-alphanumeric character. It's very simple. Write a regular expression that will only allow A to Z and 0 to 9. Done. No, but this is not the case. Why? Why over-escaping? They are doing excessive encoding. I wanted to do the job with the less possible number of characters, and this is where I succeed. So, any other question?
Okay, we got one more.
How did you actually determine, was there some formalism behind this to actually prove that these are sufficient?
Yeah, exactly, yeah. When I developed this filter and when I tested the methodology against these charts, I had a question, the same question in my mind. Why I am so sure? That's why I asked the community and I instigate them and I motivated them. Hey, this is the price money, break it. So far, more than 1200 unique IP addresses I got attempts from. So this filter also had a community testing, and community is unable to break it. And at the same time, we look at the parser behavior of the browser, because in order to execute a JavaScript, one has to invoke the JavaScript parser. And there are special characters. These are the characters that helps in invoking the JavaScript parser. So if you will control these characters, JavaScript parser will not be invoked. Community testing, the testing against these charts, helps in having a conclusion. This should be complete. But I don't know about the future. Maybe if some HTML specs change, if some new character appear, then what I can do, I can simply add that character. Nothing is perfect. But so far the community testing and the testing that I did, it seems it works. So if still somebody has any question, just ping me on Twitter and I will be happy to answer. Thank you.
Thank you very much.